Hello YouTube, what's good? It's D-Dogs here. Your 1-speed 3-armor operator is considering throwing his PS5 out the window. In today's video, it's not the Siege on Sunday strat video we've had planned, but an attachment and weapon loadout guide from the mind of a support and flex player who also needs to frag out for the team. Well, apologies, this was not supposed to be this week's Siege on Sunday video. Unfortunately, when we recorded our strat challenge video, my PS5 decided not to take any of the content, and I've had a couple of problems even in trying to record this video, so fingers crossed it gets out to you in the version that it's supposed to. I decided to solve another problem in that Ubisoft had decided to set all my operators back to default again, and I have just recorded this, putting weapon skins back onto all of my operators and explaining the loadout before it decided to crash and only record 2 seconds of content. So all the weapon skins are back on is the good news. I'm now going to have a run through all of the attacking operators for this video, talk you through the loadouts that I run on the main weapons that I have with them and the reasons why. I'd love to hear about any differences that you have, about the way that you run your operators. Please leave them in the comments below. This video from my perspective is based on my playstyle, which is a little bit more passive, a little bit more support, flex role, and therefore trying to help out with setting up to go for plant or objective based play is usually the way that I'm going about things. So let's launch straight in before my PS5 decides to crash again and start with the main man Sledge. So on Sledge, of course, I run the L85 and I run that with the old ACOG for exquisite good vibes, and I run that with a flash hider and the horizontal grip. There's nothing too controversial here. The ACOG obviously makes most sense for my sort of playing style with a lot of operators. There's not a great deal of recoil on this gun, but the flash hider does help. And with you changing from what would normally be sort of your vertical grip over to a horizontal grip, any recoil difference that you see between the two is kind of negated by having the flash hider on there. The reason that I run the horizontal grip is because there is such little recoil to deal with, and because of course Sledge became a 1-speed a couple of seasons back, that kind of negates that problem in allowing you to sort of keep speed up with Sledge when you're trying to get into sight. On to Thatcher then. And again, similar story, so old ACOG, flash hider, horizontal grip for pretty much the same reasons. With Ash, I run the R4C. Now, perhaps controversially to some, I don't run it with the ACOG. I know a lot of people for many years have been screaming out for that change and are absolutely delighted that it's come back. And I'm delighted for you. However, my idea when I'm playing Ash is that I'm trying to get into the building as quickly as possible, take on gunfights, and either take out as much of the team as I can as quickly as possible, or do my bit and die as quickly as possible, as is often the way the latter that occurs. In doing so, by running the ACOG for me, I'm not going to be able to see people at close range. It's going to take up too much of the screen, it's going to be too zoomed in, I'm going to end up missing all my shots. Now running this red dot B doesn't guarantee that I'm not going to miss all my shots, but it gives me a little bit more of a chance. The housing on this is really nice, it takes up such little amount of the screen. I definitely give it a run. Certainly helps me with close range gunfights anyway from my side. I run it with the flash hider just to help me with the recoil control, and because I want to be a 4-speed Ash, because 3-speed Ash just wasn't good enough, I get the horizontal grip out just so that we can get into building and into sight as quickly as we possibly can. And because I'm doing that, of course, I don't really advocate running lasers all that much. I know obviously now they help with ADS times, which is great, and being as I'm looking for gun up as quickly as possible when I do get into the building, I'm more than fine with a laser here because I'm not sitting around holding angles, letting people know where I am. I'm going to be very much going in to try and secure the kill. On to Thermite then. So with Thermite it's the 5.56, and it's pretty much the set menu that you'll see throughout the video on my operators due to my playing style. It's the old ACOG, it's a suppressor on this one, and it's a vertical grip. So vertical grip obviously again just to help with the recoil, ACOG because if I'm opening up walls, I'm usually playing passive angles, and the suppressor is a preference of mine just because being as it doesn't have that sort of damage drop off anymore as it used to, which changed quite a while back now, I think the trade-off for not showing that bullet trail for an enemy not to know where you're firing from can be extremely helpful in certain situations. Especially for me, it allows me to adjust my shots so that when I'm painting around them, they're not aware of it, and gives me a chance to readjust to try and secure the kill. So that's why I tend to play the suppressor on quite a lot of operators, just for that kind of silent approach and to not give away my position so easily, which is probably why you don't see a great deal of laser play from my side. Onto Twitch, and very little to say because I'll leave this for NR. Not really my kind of operator, Twitch. Too much recoil in it for me. Again, for how often I play it, I just can't really get used to it. But when I do play Twitch on very rare occasions, it's with the old ACOG and it's with the flash hider to help out with that horrible kick that it gives. On to Monty, not a great deal to say on this one. As you can see, I've got a very nice weapon skin going back on for the shield there. I run the P9 with a muzzle brake, as I do with all pistols, for help with single shot firing, and I've cracked out the diamond weapon skin there just to let people know that I've been playing the game for an awful long time, and yes, absolutely I will be missing all of my shots, thank you very much. Don't really play a great deal of Monty though, even with the recent buff that they've received. On Glaz, as you can see, I've gone for the sort of low-key, hidden, subtle approach on the gun skin. And when I do play Glaz, I play the Hollow D sight. I don't know why this is. This was just something that I came across whilst testing it out, perhaps one afternoon in the shooting range. And for some reason, for me, it just lines up really nicely. Go and give it a go if you don't believe me. But this has been my personal preferred sight on this particular weapon. Again, running it suppressed to help out with the advantage of people not knowing where I am. And I run this controversially with an angled grip. The reason being is when you've only got 16 in the mag and you're sort of constant firing through, when you go to reload, for me personally, I just want to get back onto that gun as quickly as possible. It's possibly because I'm running the bearing 9 as a secondary, which I'm surprisingly not too bad with, but I'd probably rather be on this gun. So I run the angled grip just to help me with the reload times on there. For Fuse, one seldom played. Again, it's pretty much a set menu of playing from a distance. I'm usually kind of opening up stuff from above with the breach charges, or perhaps a hatch with the hard breach gadget, and then trying to shoot people from above. So, of course, ACOG helps with that, as does the suppressor for floor bangs and such, and vertical grip for assistance with the recoil. Not a great deal to say on Blitz, to be honest with you, except what a lovely shield that was. I mean, fair play to Ubisoft. I think that was 4 years ago maybe now it came out, but yeah, very happy with that. On to IQ then. So with IQ, it's old ACOG, it's the flash hider, and it's the vertical grip again. Nothing really much to say on that, and I don't really play a great deal of IQ. Someone that I'm looking to play a little bit more of this season is Buck, who I run with the old ACOG and suppressed. So the idea, again, usually being to play some sort of vertical, and again then sort of shooting down through floors, trying to drive people out of sight, and again doing it from an angle where perhaps they're not aware of, and I don't want them to be aware of. With Blackbeard, I can't remember the last time I played Blackbeard. I couldn't tell you the next time I'll play Blackbeard. But when I would choose to play him, if I ever did again, it would be with the old ACOG. It would be controversially, perhaps, for some with the extended barrel, and it would be with the vertical grip. Now, the reason for the extended barrel is that on that gun, you get 40 damage as standard, which does mean that with 3 bullets, you'll be taking out 1 armor and 2 armor ops, but does mean you'd need a 4th to take out a 3 armor operator. The extended barrel gives you an extra 4 damage per bullet, and so within 3 bullets you'd then be doing 132 damage at 44 per bullet times 3, which would then take out absolutely anyone in the operator pool. And so I think the trade-off for that, being as it's got no recoil and hits like an absolute truck, probably makes sense. I've decided to run an all black skin on Blackbeard. A couple of reasons really. Firstly, and the probably more obvious one, is that it's in mourning of the old days of the glory that was Blackbeard. Secondly, I just think he's that type of character. I think his favourite position is missionary. I think he likes his egg sunny side up. I think he probably wears black Umbro boots for football. I think that's just a straightforward selection. Also helps this charm pop as well, by the way. If you're not running the copper charm from the last season, then are you really playing Siege? Like, let people know how much of a grind you've put in to get there. That is a beautiful weapon skin. Really goes nicely with that. On to Capital then. He's gone a little bit the opposite way. I mean, that is quite a look. On Capital, I run the old ACOG. I also run extended barrel on here and vertical grip again. Reason being is that it takes your damage output to 52 per bullet, which means if you are facing up to one of those nasty 3-speed operators out on the roam, you can actually take them down in 2 bullets. And I'm all for taking 3 speeds down in 2 bullets. So that's why I go extended barrel on Capital. And again, I'm usually playing him outside of sort of windows or outside of objective to get fire and smoke in certain areas to try and secure plants. So ACOG probably the play most of the time for where I'm going to use him. On to Hibana then, an operator that I really do need to play a little bit more of, to be honest with you. I used to be a bit of a Hibana main back in 2019 when I started playing, and I do miss her. When I played with the old ACOG back on, it took me back to those times, so certainly we'll be making a bit more of a concerted effort to play more Hibana. Again, it's suppressed fire and it's vertical grip for reasons mentioned earlier. And just a quick shout out for this weapon skin, by the way. I'm all for the animated skins. I love a bit of colour on weapons as well, so that to me really does it. I definitely need to get back playing Hibana again soon. Not really much point me talking you through Jackal, other than to say that the C7E is one of my favourite weapons on the game, so it's a real shame, but I'm also the first person to call for a Jackal ban. What I'd like to see in an ideal world is the C7E going to another operator. Someone like Nook. If you're not going to give Nook her silent step back, which personally I think you should be doing, please at least give her this gun so that when she does arrive and you hear her heading towards you, she can absolutely shred you to pieces. This gun is superb. And in line with that, this is why I run it the way I do. You can absolutely afford to run a horizontal grip for that extra speed advantage, because there's such little kick on this gun, you barely notice it at all. I run the red dot B because, kind of in line with the way that I would be looking to play Ash if theoretically I was to ever play Jackal again, I'd be wanting to get the tracks out there, find the person that I'm going on the hunt of, and then in doing so I want to get into the building as quickly as possible and go and find that roamer, go and secure the kill. And so again, to have that non-magnified sort of one-time scope helps me out with the casing around it not taking up too much of screen, but also helps me in close range gunfights if I bump into them directly. Suppress fire again just helps me whilst I'm getting into the building. If I do pre-fire something, I'm not giving away too much of my position, and I'm okay with a laser on this as well. For me personally, I'm not going to be holding angles with Jackal. I'm going to be trying to get active, so people aren't going to know my position being given away by seeing a laser in a door frame. It'd be great to play him again someday, but in his current version, it's just not possible. Ying, however, is someone that I do very much like to play. And again, there's a bit of two styles of play with the way that I go about playing Ying, but the way I set up is very similar again. So it's the old ACOG, it's the suppressor, and it's the vertical grip. Because at the beginning of the round, I'm probably going to be holding angles from either outside the objective or outside a window, just trying to find angles to get kills on people that are holding angles within sight. So it just gives me that bit of advantage to sort of get them sort of driven out of where they need to be. When the Candelas start raining in, the way that I play Siege myself is that I'm usually going on the back of Candelas and smokes going in, and that's because we've cleared enough of sight that I'm going for objective play to go and get the plant down or support the player getting the plant down. So whilst there could be an argument that you are going to be getting a bit sort of up close and personal with Ying in the latter stages of the round, I think overall the ACOG probably suits me better in terms of overall gameplay. On to Zofia, and hear me out on this one. So remember the good old days of the LMG meta? I kind of came into this very early. I accidentally stumbled across it in 2020 because I liked Sophia, but I wasn't very good with her other primary. I decided to make the switch onto the LMG and found that actually there was absolutely no recoil to it whatsoever. And then it appears everyone else did as well. And so for a brief period, I was absolutely shredding up the scene, for me anyway, using this LMG-E. And then Ubisoft got onto it, and suddenly there was horizontal recoil randomly all over the show that kicked in, and that was the end of that. Now, I don't know if there's been a phantom change in the background that they didn't want to let us know about, but what I'm tending to find is, having gone back to this LMG, is there really isn't any sort of recoil on it whatsoever. It's very easily controlled again. And so I have made the decision, controversially, to go back to it when I do play Zoth, albeit not very often. Again, with my playstyle, it's the old ACOG coming in the suppressor. The angle grip makes the most sense here, of course, because that now allows you to reduce the reload time. And being as it takes something like 8.5, maybe even 9 seconds to normally reload, I think that falls to just under 7 doing it this way. So there is a little bit of a difference between the two. Certainly enough that I think it warrants it. You shouldn't be having to reload an LMG all that often within a 3-minute round, but if you're like me, it's probably worthwhile having a look at still. Dokkaebi, not a great deal to say because I don't really play her. She's an absolute pest to play against, so I understand why people play her. But because I'm not very good at the whole single tap thing on a controller, not really one for me. If I was playing her, I'd be playing her from a distance, trying to annoy, irritate, drive out people into the roam clear by making those phone calls. And I'd probably just be holding angles from a distance because I'd have no confidence going in at close range. And so I run the 3.5 times, I believe it'd be, on the telescopic B sight. I think it's the nicest looking of the three. Again, running it suppressed just to give me that advantage on where I'm firing from. And vertical grip, I'm not really sure why, in all honesty, on that one, because it does come down very quickly, and obviously it's a single fire weapon, but that's probably just something I did as a default a long time ago. Fundamentally, it doesn't really matter to me anyway, because, as I say, I'm not going to be playing her. An operator that I am going to be playing, absolutely, though, is Lion. So on Lion, I run the Vector, the V308, and again run it in line with the exact sort of same set menu because of the way that I'm going to play Lion. Not really a great deal to add to that, in all honesty. Just get the scans in, try and hold people, hold angles, try and get the team in, is really the way I'm playing him. On Finker, I've only really got one thing to say because it's very similar lineup to the way that I play most of my other attacking weapons. But if you aren't running the suppressor on any other gun, please run it on Finker's Spear 308. It's the nicest sounding suppressor on the whole game. Get into the shooting range now and attach it and tell me that I'm wrong. It sounds like you're beating someone up with a pillow. It's an absolutely glorious noise. So I would highly recommend that. If nothing else, set her up exactly the way that you want to, but please run her on a suppressor if you do play her regularly. It's 100% worth it. On to Mav, and I do play a little bit more of Mav, so again, similar lineup in terms of the way that I'm playing on the old ACOG suppressed with vertical grip. Again, it's just a case of I'm playing it from a distance, so opening up sort of holes to either assist in getting rid of bandit charges, Kaid Electroclaws, mute jammers, or to put lines of sight to play alongside a Glaz, or to set up lines of sight to play off myself. And if I'm going to do that, having the ACOG gives me that advantage in doing so. And again, suppress fire, same thing as everything else. They may see the hole in the wall, but they might not know exactly which angle I'm shooting from, is the idea. On to Nomad, and I'm not talented enough to use the ARX just purely because it's only got 20 bullets in the mag. It's just not enough for me. I'd have to be reloading every time I got involved in a gunfight. So I run the AK-74M, which is ideal because Deimos has just received it, and I run that with the old ACOG, of course, and the flash hider to help with that little bit of bounce that you do get off that AK. On to my favourite op then, Gridlock. I run the F90 on Gridlock, and I run the old ACOG suppressed, of course, for the usual reasons. and I also run the horizontal grip. Just to explain on that front, of course, as I'm sure you're aware, Gridlock being a 1-speed, the noisiest operator in the entirety of the game, so very difficult when it comes to trying to get around for rotates, and of course she's not particularly quick at doing it either. So the suppressed fire gives me a little bit of assistance in if I'm 3 miles out, they might not know exactly where I'm coming from. But then also when it comes to sort of rotating and trying to get her in for a plant, etc., which is usually what I'm going off, being as you've got the option of the tracks, of course, and then to back it up, you've got frag grenades that you can kind of throw now uncooked over into an area to try and sort of temporarily stop people pushing you. You've got the smokes that you can plant under as well. She's extremely helpful in terms of obviously the flank watch side of things, but for me personally, the best operator in terms of setting up for a plant when it comes to solo play. And so getting her into the building that little bit quicker with the horizontal grip is something that I absolutely advocate for, and that's why I run her that way. Again, the F90, like many guns on the attacking side on console, not a great deal of recoil, so more than happy to trade off the difference for that versus running a vertical grip. But yeah, bit of love there for Gridlock. Bit of love for Nook as well. Fuming, as I mentioned earlier, about the fact that they decided to take the silent step away from her. But, hopefully changes to come on that front. In the meantime, the way that I run her is all about trying to get into the building as silently as possible, as quickly as possible, and go and pick off those roamers or get myself into a really good position on the edge of sight or into sight very early doors. And so again, for that, being as close range gunfights may be the order of the day. The red dot B makes the most sense to me, and I run that suppressed just for that sort of air of kind of invisibility, as with the cloaking. Amaru's quite the opposite, sadly, and I'd love to see a day where Amaru could come in as a bit of a stealth operator, because I like that element of surprise in the Gara Hook coming in. We used to do a strat at the old consulate, coming into the little admin closet at the side of console, where you could plant behind the sort of yellow sofa as it was. I really enjoyed that as a strategy. The problem is that everyone within sort of a 5-6 mile radius of the building knows what's coming, and so really there's no point playing sort of suppressed fire and trying to play discreet with Amaru. So being as again you're going to be getting into sight usually with the Gara Hook, I'm running the red dot B so that I can sort of have those close range gunfights more easily. Running the flash hider to help me with the recoil side of things when I inevitably panic that I've survived flying in through the window. Vertical grip on there as well, and to help me with the ADS time when I do land, because there is that slight delay when you do land. Just trying to help out with the ADS time. I've got the laser on there as well, because you really don't have to worry about bumping into someone. And showing where your position is with a laser. Everyone knows exactly where you are. But great operator, really fun. I think a couple of tweaks could make her slightly more viable in terms of bringing her into any sort of meta in the future. We'll see. Not a great deal to say on Callie. She is who she is. I'd just like to point out this nice little animated weapon skin. I'd like to see some more of that from Ubisoft. It's a nice skin, that, but there's no real sort of changes you can make to Callie outside of that, so we shall move on. Yana is someone that I would like to play some more of, and again I stay clear of the ARX and go with the G36C on Yana. The reason that I play the old ACOG on Yana is, even though I want to try and get into the building and play off that intel as quickly as I possibly can do, obviously going in as kind of the entry op that Yana's designed to be, I also feel that in doing so you can take away from some of her ability in that infinite drone that she has of her own. So early round I do try and sort of find where it is I'm going to enter from, make sure that I've got those areas cleared or driven people out of the areas that they're hiding in, and the ACOG obviously can help me with doing that on the back of finding the intel of where they are. If they're holding an angle on me, then at least I've got a bit of a way of trying to get an advantage back on them, and that's why I decided to run the magnified rather than say you sort of one times. I still play the suppressor just for that element of surprise. Because again there's not really much in the way of recoil, I try and get into the building as quickly as possible on the back of the intel that I've gained. Horizontal grip makes the most sense to do that, and because I'm not really holding angles once I'm in there, and I'm therefore not worried about giving my position away, I'm more than happy to run the laser so I can get the gun up once I am into the building playing off the intel I've just received. On to Ace, and certainly an operator that I need to bring into my sort of repertoire of normal operators that I play this season. So whenever I've tried him out, this sort of gun setup on the AK-12 is wonderful. The old ACOG suppressed vertical grip hits like an absolute truck, so easy to control, one of the best guns on the game in my opinion, and of course extremely handy ability in being able to hard breach as well. Not a great deal to say on that. From my side, just try and get walls open, hold angles, drive people out of anchor position so that we can get in and execute. On to the main man, Sam Fisher then, and first bit of a change here in that an iron sight's been broken out, and that's because even if you run the SC3000K rather than the MP7, for whatever reason Sam still gets the Bandit iron sights on this gun as well, which is a cracking result because of course running iron sights now reduces your ADS time, and therefore means that I can still get some benefit without having to add the laser on and give away my position, because when I'm playing Sam it is all about stealth. So I'm trying to set up cameras to either flank watch or get intel on the area that I'm entering into the building, and then I'm trying to get in there stealthily and move my way across the map without people being aware. I also want to get my gun up fairly quickly, as with those other operators that I'm looking to get into a building fairly quickly with, but I don't want to give away my position because I'm going to play this slightly slower when I get in. So the iron sight does that bit for me of being able to get my gun up quicker without giving away position. Of course, suppressor is one of my favourites anyway for all my operators, but particularly with the likes of Sam and Nook, where the idea is to try and get in with stealth, just makes that extra bit of sense, particularly on Sam. On to Flores, and I run the AR-33. Again, pretty much as you'd expect me to do so, apart from with horizontal grip on this particular gun rather than vertical. And the reason for that is that sometimes by the time you've set up your Flores drones to go and destroy utility or even drive people out of sort of stronghold positions, I've found that sometimes you can find yourself behind the rest of your team and therefore playing a bit of catch up. And in doing so, having the horizontal grip on there just allows you to play that extra bit of catch up. It's not much of a difference, but again, being as there's very little recoil on this weapon, I think it's worth the trade-off personally. On to OSA, and I run OSA exactly the way that I run Thermite, because again, when I'm opening up walls with Thermite, I'm holding angles, and with OSA I'm setting up a shield normally behind where the Thermite's opened up and playing behind that to try and get rid of people holding nasty angles. So pretty self-explanatory on that one. You could very easily run the PDW9 on that if you've got more talent than I have, and it's a lovely gun, so I've no issue in using it. I'm just slightly more familiar with the 5.56. On Sens, so I treat Sens a little bit kind of as a hybrid in between the sort of playing from outside, gathering the intel to push in, and the sort of Ash, Jackal, Nook type play that I would go for. What I'm looking to do is get those sort of green screens into sight as quickly as I can once I've established where the defenders are holding from, and then I want to push in on the back of that whilst they are confused and don't know exactly where I am, to either go and push for a kill onto a position being held, or to try and get myself into a plant spot. And so again, being as you're probably going to be up close and personal, Red Dot B to me makes the most sense. It's just my personal favourite out of the sort of 1x sort of scopes at the minute. With regards to the extended barrel, just helps you out that little bit extra in being able to take out 1 and 2 armour operators with 3 bullets, whereas if you leave it without the extended barrel, you can only take out maybe one armour operators with 3 bullets. So it just gives you that extra little bit when you're attacking into sight, just in case you bump into someone a little bit different. I run the horizontal grip again because I want to get into sight as quickly as possible. Once I've made that decision to get the green screens out, I want to be making that dart and that play quickly. And again, because at the start of the round I might hold a few angles but not for long, I'm not particularly fussed about them knowing my location, because as soon as those green screen start to roll through sight, they're pretty much going to know which door or window I'm coming from anyway. So I'm kind of okay with that, and again, just helps me get into a position of being able to ADS quicker, so I'm ready to take on the gunfight. On to everybody's favourite beekeeper, who thankfully has become a lot more viable thanks to those recent buffs over the last couple of seasons. And again, I run him pretty much exactly how you'd expect me to run most of my other operators. I choose to run him with a flash hider rather than a suppressor. I think it was just because I hadn't played the commando for a while and was just getting slightly more sort of used to the recoil pattern of it when I started playing him again. So this may quickly turn back into a suppressor, but it doesn't massively matter to me because the bees, again, as with Sens, is going to give away your position of where you're pushing from to a degree, and so I don't mind that it's a flash hider that I'm using and that they get those sort of bullet trails in to help me a little bit with the obviously recoil side of things. On to Brava. With Brava, I'm running the Para, so a slightly different way of running it to the way that I run Capital because of the way that I choose to play Brava. I don't know if it's just me, I'm assuming it's not, but when I'm playing Brava, I tend to find that I go and do my hacking and all's going well. I've got either the bandit batteries hacked off the wall so that we can get the breach, or I've got hold of an evil eye so that they can't shock us when we're going to execute on plant, or a capcan trap so someone can get blown up on the way back on the flank, which is always great fun. But then when you come off the Brava drone really happy with yourself about what you've done for the team, you then find out that there's only 15 seconds of the round left and you're still in spawn. And so you really need to be moving quickly once you've got those jobs done. I'm therefore running the red dot B because once I do arrive, if I get there in time to play the post plant, then I want to be up close and personal in the building. I'm not really going to have time to sort of find out intel of where people are moving at that stage, so I just need gun up and ready to fire. Suppression just helps me again in terms of visibility of where it is that I'm coming from. The horizontal grip helps me with the movement of leaving spawn to get in towards site, having spent most of the round on my Brava drone, and of course I want to get my gun up as quickly as possible, and so that's the way I choose to run Brava. Penultimate operator in RAM then. So on RAM I'm running the R4C, running it slightly differently to the way that I run Ash because I'm looking to get in very quickly with Ash. With RAM, the idea normally for me is that I'm playing her if I'm going from above to try and sort of create angles, and with me not being particularly good at this game, having the ACOG available to me means that shooting between beams is slightly easier to see through. I play the extended barrel because it gets me that extra 4 damage again, so I go up to 43 per bullet, which means with 3 bullets on any armor operator, I can be taking them down, which is great when you're trying to fire between the beams in a bit of a dart around gunfight, and again vertical control just to help out with the recoil side of things. And finally, the new main man on campus, Deimos. So I run the AK-74M, of course, because I'm not really much of a shotgun man. I run him with the old ACOG and I run it suppressed for pretty much the reasons that I've mentioned everywhere else. When you get into the building with Deimos, you've got the Vendetta, of course, you can go hunting around with, which is a little bit more loud and abrasive. And obviously, if you've got the ability on, the defender knows where you are to a degree as well. So this just gives him a slight element of sort of entering with stealth in having a suppressor on his other gun. And that's purely the reason that I've decided to run it that way. If you've got any differences in opinion on the way that you choose to run your attacking operators, I'd love to hear more below. So please leave a comment with any sort of major differences that you found between mine and your setup. I'd love to hear more about it. And if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll look to do a similar sort of style video with defenders if you've enjoyed this one. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.